The courtroom fell into stunned silence when Marcus Webb, the high-powered defense attorney, suddenly clutched his briefcase and bolted through the side door. His client, millionaire real estate mogul Richard Thornton, sat frozen at the defense table, his face draining of color. "What just happened?" Judge Morrison demanded, her gavel hanging mid-air. Nobody answered. The prosecutor smirked, sensing an easy victory. Richard Thornton was accused of fraud, allegedly cheating dozens of families out of their life savings through fake property deals. The evidence was damning, and now his lawyer had abandoned him like a sinking ship. In the back corner of the courtroom, pushing a mop bucket, stood 42-year-old David Chen. He was the courthouse janitor, a single father of 2 daughters, working double shifts to keep food on the table. He had been cleaning courtrooms for 15 years, silently observing hundreds of trials while emptying trash cans and polishing floors. "Your Honor," the prosecutor announced smugly, "I move for an immediate judgment." "Wait!" Everyone turned toward the voice. David had stepped forward, still wearing his gray janitor uniform with his name stitched on the pocket. "Your Honor, I can represent Mr. Thornton." Laughter erupted. The prosecutor nearly choked. Even Richard Thornton looked horrified. "Sir, this is not a joke," Judge Morrison said sternly. "Return to your duties." "With respect, Your Honor, I passed the bar examination 7 years ago. I'm licensed to practice law in this state." David reached into his back pocket and produced a worn wallet, extracting a laminated card. "I never practiced because life had other plans." The courtroom buzzed with whispers. Judge Morrison examined the credentials, her eyebrows rising. "This appears legitimate. Mr. Thornton, do you accept this representation?" Richard looked at David, the mop, the uniform, the tired eyes of a working man. Then he looked at the prosecutor's confident grin, at the jury already making up their minds. "Yes," Richard whispered, "I accept." David asked for a 30-minute recess. He spent it in the bathroom, splashing water on his face, remembering why he had abandoned law. His wife had died 7 years ago, leaving him with 2 young daughters. Law school debt, no job offers from prestigious firms, and 2 children who needed their father present, not chasing billable hours. The janitor job offered stability, benefits, and time with his girls. But he had never stopped watching, never stopped learning. When court resumed, David approached the witness stand where the prosecution's star witness, an accountant named Gerald Price, sat, who claimed to have documents proving Richard's fraud. "Mr. Price," David began, his voice steady, "you testified that you personally witnessed Mr. Thornton signing fraudulent contracts on March 15th of last year, correct?" "That's correct." "And you're certain about that date?" "Absolutely certain." David nodded slowly. "Interesting. Because I've been cleaning this courthouse for 15 years. I clean every room, including the records archive." He pulled out a folded paper. "This is a publicly available flight manifest showing Mr. Thornton was in London on March 15th attending a charity gala with over 200 witnesses." The courtroom gasped. Gerald Price's face turned red. "Would you like to revise your testimony, Mr. Price?" The prosecutor jumped up. "Objection! Where did he get—" "It's a public record," David interrupted calmly, "available to anyone who bothers to look." Over the next 2 hours, David methodically dismantled the prosecution's case. He had spent years invisible in this courthouse, listening to lawyers strategize in hallways, reading discarded documents in trash cans, observing which arguments worked and which failed. He knew every prosecutor's weakness, every judge's preference. But his most powerful moment came during his closing argument. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm not a fancy lawyer. I mop floors. I clean toilets. I'm a single dad who helps his daughters with homework at midnight after working double shifts." Pause, letting his words settle. "But I know something about judgment. Every day people walk past me like I'm invisible. They assume because I push a mop, I have nothing valuable to offer. They judged me by my uniform, just like you're being asked to judge Mr. Thornton based on assumptions and lies." He pointed at Gerald Price. "That man lied under oath. The prosecution never verified basic facts. They assumed a rich man must be guilty because being wealthy makes you suspicious." David walked closer to the jury box. "Mr. Thornton may be a millionaire, but he deserves the same fair trial as anyone else. The evidence doesn't support these charges. Don't let assumptions replace facts." The jury deliberated for only 45 minutes. "Not guilty." Richard Thornton collapsed into his chair, tears streaming down his face. He grabbed David's hand. "How can I ever repay you?" David smiled tiredly. "You don't owe me anything." "Please, name your price. Anything." David thought about his daughters, about the leaky roof at home, about their dreams of college. "There are 23 families who lost money in bad real estate deals, not from you, but from actual scammers. Help them. Use your money to make things right for people who can't fight for themselves." Richard stared at him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Done." 6 months later, David still worked as a janitor, by choice, but now he also ran a free legal clinic on weekends, helping people who couldn't afford attorneys. Richard Thornton funded the entire operation. David's daughters asked him once why he didn't become a real lawyer again. He smiled, wringing out his mop. "I am a real lawyer, sweetheart. I just happen to also clean floors. Never let anyone tell you that honest work makes you less than who you are."